video, we are going to discuss about intercalation compounds. So, intercalation, the term itself means insertion of something. The 29 days of February, uh, that extra day was inserted into the calendar to make it match the solar year. So, this concept of or the word of intercalation came from that concept. So intercalation of layers of atoms, ions or molecules between layers of a host material to form sandwich type of compound is termed as intercalation. So this is if you are trying to imagine this would be very much interesting because the formation of intercalation compounds can be compared to the formation of a sandwich or a burger. That is, in between two similar layers of bread, you will be applying a particular kind of mixture in order to make a sandwich. Similarly, intercalation compounds, you will be having two similar layers. In between the two similar layers of atoms or group of molecules, you will be inserting some atoms, molecules, or ions in order to get the specific kind of compounds, intercalation compounds, which is having numerous applications and very unique kind of properties. So some of the intercalation compounds that you can see in your day-to-day life is talc, mica, vermiculite, sodium beta alumina, graphite intercalation compounds, etc. And our discussion will be mainly confined to the graphite intercalation compounds. So here you can see these corresponding structures of talc. In talc you can see silica layer, a large layer of silica, and in between the silica layers you can see magnesium ions and hydroxide, magnesium in the hydrogen form present, magnesium hydroxide. So these species would be present in between the corresponding silica layer. And if you're considering vermiculite is having a much more complex kind of structure. And in that, you can see two similar layers of silica based material. In between, you will be having various ions such as sodium, potassium, etc., in addition to water molecules. So this is also a kind of intercalation compound, and another kind of compound is sodium beta alumina. This is one interesting kind of compound because in this you will be having an alumina layer, different alumina layers. In between the alumina layers you will be having sodium ions present, and this sodium ions will be undergoing conduction in one single direction, and they can be used as the electrolytes in fuel cells and all, fuel cells and other electrochemical cells, batteries, etc. So this is the sodium beta alumina structure of sodium beta alumina, and you can have vermiculite, you can have talc, you can have mica, and our discussion will be mainly focused on graphite based intercalation compounds. So we have already seen the structure of graphite. We know that the graphite will be having a layered structure, and within a particular layer the carbon atoms will be covalently linked, but in between the layers the interaction would be purely van der Waals kind of interaction. So the structure of graphite itself points to the fact that there is a possibility for formation of this kind of intercalation compounds. So you must have already uh, studied the corresponding structure of graphite, and we have already discussed the structure of graphite. We'll be having a layered structure like this. Each of the layer will be conducting, and in between the layers there will not be conducting capacity, and the electron cloud would be present above and below the plane, and in between the each of the planes you will be having the electrostatic or van der Waals kind of interaction, and So you can incorporate various species in between these layers. You can make sandwich kind of compounds in the case of graphite also. So graphite based intercalation compounds are one of the important field of intercalation compounds. The main reason is one is its structure, its layered structure, easy layered structure, and the possibility for electronic interaction between the incorporated atoms or molecules or ions and the electron cloud of the graphite is the second reason. So there are different kinds of intercalation compounds possible in the case of graphite. If you are considering graphite based intercalation compounds, you can incorporate various different kinds of compounds. So in our discussion, we will be mainly focusing on synthesis, structure, properties and applications of various graphite intercalation compounds. So we have already studied about graphite, and graphite will be having a layered structure, and in between the layers you can incorporate various ions or molecules. One of the important class of intercalation compounds coming under graphite intercalation compounds is alkali metal incorporated graphite intercalation compounds. You can incorporate alkali metals into the between the layers of graphite in order to make the graphite intercalation compounds of alkali metals. So mainly, there are four different kinds of or class of intercalation compounds of graphite. First one is intercalation compounds of alkali metals. Intercalation compounds of graphite with alkali metals. Intercalation compounds of oxo acids and metal halides. Intercalation compounds of graphite with oxides and sulfides. And intercalation compounds of graphite with halogens. These are four different important class of graphite intercalation compounds. Now moving further to alkali metal intercalation compounds of graphite. So you know which all are the alkali metals, that is lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, etc. are the alkali metals, and these three will be easily forming the intercalation compounds, and this would be somewhat reluctant to form the intercalation compounds with graphite. And for the preparation of intercalation compounds of graphite with potassium, what you have to do is you have to take carbon, that is you have to take graphite and heat that with potassium at 300 degrees Celsius. When graphite is reacted with potassium metal at 300 degrees Celsius, it gives an intercalation compound of composition C8K. You'll be getting this kind of compound. And in similar way, you can synthesize C8 RB C8CS. What you have to do is you have to take carbon plus rubidium, get this carbon plus cesium, you will be getting this corresponding compound, all at 300 degrees Celsius. About the intercalation compound of sodium and lithium that you can prepare, it is actually very difficult. However, you can take extra pure graphite So in all these cases, you are taking graphite here. Here you have to take extra pure graphite and react that with lithium at 500 degrees Celsius in order to get brass colored C6Li and copper colored C12Li. Also, sodium will be reacting extra pure graphite. Sodium will also react with extra pure graphite at very strict conditions to give C64Na. So this is the basic synthesis methods for alkali metal intercalation compounds of graphite. The intercalation compound C8M, that is formed by potassium, rubidium and cesium, is formed through a number of stages. Will be formed through a number of stages. First, C60M will be formed. That is called the fifth stage intercalation compound. Then it will be converted to C48M. Then it will be converted to C36M. Then it will be converted to C24M. Then it will be converted to C8M. So this one is the fifth stage intercalation compound. This one is the fourth stage, third stage, second stage, and this is the first stage. If you are trying to prepare intercalation compounds of higher alkali metal content, they will be unstable. The unstable nature of the higher alkali metal containing intercalation compound is due to the high electrostatic repulsion between each layer of alkali metals. This first stage intercalation compound, that is C8M, which will be formed by potassium, rubidium and cesium, will be having an ionic structure. And if the intercalation compound is heated under reduced pressure, the reaction occurs in the reverse order. So if you are applying pressure and heating them, if you are reducing the pressure and heating them, you will be getting the first, the second stage, third stage, fourth stage, fifth stage, and ultimately graphite. Find it to C60M. So here you can see the intercalation compound of alkali metals, graphite with potassium, rubidium or cesium at 300 degrees Celsius will be giving you the corresponding intercalation compound. The intercalation compound of sodium and lithium is difficult to be prepared. C8M is formed by number of steps, and you can see first formed intercalation compound will be the fifth stage intercalation compound, which will be having a black color, and C48M will be the fourth stage intercalation compound, which will also be having a black color. Then you will be getting the third stage intercalation compound for the heating, and that will be having a navy blue kind of color. The second stage intercalation compound will be having a silver kind of color, and ultimately you will be getting the ionic C8M, which is the first stage intercalation compound, which is having this copper color. The higher alkali metal content than C8M will be unstable because they will be having high electrostatic repulsion. And if you heat that at reduced pressure or in vacuum, you will be getting C60M ultimately. So this is the color change that we will be observing, and this is the corresponding change that is occurring when you are heating the intercalation compound, the first stage intercalation compound at reduced pressure or under vacuum. Now moving on to the corresponding structure of intercalation compound of alkali metal. We are discussing about the intercalation compounds formed by graphite and alkali metals. The crystal structure of first stage intercalation compound contain planar structure of layer of metal in between two layers of graphite. So in the case of first stage, it's better to explain this using this particular diagram. So if you're considering the first stage intercalation compound, the first stage intercalation compound is the one in which you have the metal, you have the particular structure formula C8M, and in this particular case you have the metal that is incorporated. Sorry, this one C8M. In this one you have the metal that can be potassium, rubidium or cesium that would be incorporated within two layers of graphite. Within each gap you will be having the metal layer incorporated. So here when you are considering the pure graphite, you don't have anything incorporated within the layers. Nothing is intercalated between the layers, and the difference or the distance between each of the layers is 3.36 Armstrong. And as you move further and further towards the C8M, that is the first stage intercalation compound, you will see that the interplanar distance between each of the graphite layer has increased to about 5.4 Armstrongs. That is for incorporating the corresponding metal ion within that particular structure. So the spacing between the metal atoms within a layer is twice the spacing between the centers of graphite hexagons in the graphite layers. That can be explained using this particular diagram. You can see the spacing between the metal ions within a layer is twice the spacing between the centers of each of the graphite hexagons. So spacing between each of the will be twice that between the spacing between each of the centers of the hexagon. And the carbon-carbon distance within a layer of graphite is same as the pure graphite, but the spacing between two graphite layers in C8K is larger than that in the pure graphite. So the thing is, if you're considering the carbon-carbon distance within a plane, that distance is not changing. It is same. But the interplanar distance, it will be increasing as you intercalate alkali metal between that. This is due to the entry of the metal atoms in between the two graphite layers. So this particular case we are talking 5.4 Armstrong, we are talking in the case of potassium intercalated graphite. So if you incorporate potassium, what you will be observing is that you will be seeing an increase of interplanar distance. The interplanar distance will increase from 3.36 Armstrong to 5.4 Armstrong, which is rather very high. But you will not be seeing any increase in the carbon-carbon distance within a plane. Within a plane, the carbon-carbon distance will be remaining constant, but the interplanar distance of the graphite will be increasing as you move from graphite to the first stage intercalation compound or C8M, when you have potassium incorporated. The structures of compound formed at other stages of intercalation are arrived by varying the frequency of occurrence of intercalated layers containing alkali metal atoms in the host lattice. So, the second stage intercalation compound, the third stage intercalation compound, the fourth stage intercalation compound, the fifth stage intercalation compound, etc. will be formed by varying the number of layers between each of the alkali metal layer. So here in the case of second stage intercalation compound, you can see you have two different graphite layers. So you have a alkali metal layer, and after that you have two graphite layers, then you have the alkali metal layer. Then you will be having two graphite layers. So these two graphite layers will not be having any alkali metal incorporated between them. And the third stage intercalation compounds, you can see between two alkali metal layers, between two alkali metal layers, there will be 3 layers of graphite. And in the fourth stage intercalation compound, there will be 4 layers of graphite. And in the case of fifth stage, you will be having 5 layers of graphite in between the metal ions. In pure graphite, there is no metal atom incorporated. So you can see the color change also when you move from the fifth stage to the first stage intercalation compound. So the important thing you have to remember is what happens to graphite, what all changes occurs to graphitic structure. The second thing, how the structure of each stage intercalation compound is different. Third, how the color of each of the intercalation compound is different, and how they behave when you heat in reduced pressure, and about how you can prepare the intercalation compounds and the corresponding property. So here you can see how the filling is done, how the intercalation is done in this particular alkali metal intercalation compound. So filling of available hexagonal sites in each layer of graphite can be observed here. For the limit of C8K, K is equal to this plus this for C12. Okay, when you are considering C8K, when you are considering this particular first stage intercalation compound, all this will be potassium. All this will be potassium. So each of this would be potassium, and this would be the filling pattern that you observe in a particular intercalation compound of graphite. So each of these positions will be filled by corresponding potassium, rubidium, or cesium when you are considering the corresponding C8K. When you move to C12N, okay, that is if you are moving to the higher one, only this one will be filled. Only this will be filled, others will be empty. So this is a basic structure that is shown. This is just for understanding how the intercalation compound is formed. So in between the planes, you can see there will be various positions in where this potassium can be occupying. So potassium will be preferring a site that is like this. So the distance between each of the potassium ion in the case of the first stage intercalation compound is twice the distance between the hexagons. So the distance, if you consider this is 1, from this center you can see, if you are calculating, twice the length of the hexagons are coming here in the case of C8M, and that is the way in which the filling is taking place. So how filling of K plus ions or Rb plus ions or Cs plus ions occur in C8K also have been expressed here. So in between the planes of graphite also there is specific positions for the corresponding metal ions to occupy in order to get a stable kind of arrangement. So the distance between each of the metal atoms should be known, and the positions at which the particular metal ion will be occupying should also be known. So this is one application that you must be already familiar with intercalation compounds. So in graphite intercalation compound in lithium ion batteries also this kind of intercalation is observed, and lithium will be moving towards the graphitic layers during the electric conduction. And you can go and further read about this particular kind of interactions and get an idea regarding the intercalation compound or intercalation process that is occurring in this particular field. And coming further, the intercalation alkali metal compounds are more conducting than graphite. It's an important thing. Graphite is not that conducting, but the intercalation compounds of alkali metals are more conducting, and they are paramagnetic while graphite is diamagnetic. The first thing is conducting nature. The conducting nature increases, and the intercalation compounds are paramagnetic, The electrical conductance decreases with increase in temperature. As we increase the temperature, the conductance decreases. These properties indicate that in intercalation compounds, bonding occurs through the transfer of electrons from alkali metal atoms to the conduction band of host element. So, in alkali metal intercalation compounds, the metal atoms will be donating electrons towards the conduction band of graphite. So, this metal will be existing in a positive charge and the graphite will be existing in a negative kind of state. So, the compounds can be written as Cn minus M plus. Cn minus M plus. Because the metal ion will be positive nature and the graphite layer will be having a negative kind of structure. This is why by electropositive metals form intercalation compounds. So if you take a metal which is reluctant to donate electron, you cannot form the intercalation compound easily because they should provide the electrons in order to form intercalation compounds. Intercalation compounds of alkali metals are highly reactive. They are highly reactive and they will be readily reacting with water. You can see the reaction here, CnM plus H2O will be giving you metal hydroxide plus half H2 plus graphite itself. So that's all for today. The next class we will be discussing about the intercalation compounds of oxoacids and metal halides, the intercalation compounds of oxides and sulfides, and intercalation compounds of halogens. So this is an important field and you should remember what is intercalation process, what do you mean by intercalation, and where all fields you can see intercalated compounds, and alkali metal intercalated compounds of graphite is very important. You should know how you can prepare each of the alkali metal intercalated compounds and the properties and the structures and how each of the alkali metal will be positioned in each of the graphitic layers, and how you can have first stage, second stage, third stage, fourth stage, and fifth stage intercalation compound, how they differ in the nature, how they differ in the color, their corresponding arrangement of alkali metals, and about the property, how the intercalation affects the property of a particular graphite should be known, that is the conductivity. How does the conductivity changes, how do the magnetic properties changes, how does the conductance depend on the temperature, and about the bonding pattern in intercalation compounds of graphite with alkali metals should be known. And about the reactivity, you should be thorough because it's highly reactive and it will be reacting with water to form graphite as well as metal hydroxide along with liberation of hydrogen. So this is regarding. So also you should look into various application of intercalation compounds in real life. Graphite based intercalation compounds, where are graphite based intercalation compounds find application, and what is the significance of using graphite based intercalation compounds in various fields, whether it is due to the thermal stability, whether it is due to the electrical conductivity and all. So this is the basic things regarding graphite intercalation compound. So you should know why graphite intercalation compound is different. That is the particular layered structure of graphite, that is due to the particular van der Waals kind of interaction between each of the layers of graphite, which enables the incorporation of various atoms, molecules or groups into the corresponding, between the corresponding layers of graphite. So these two things should be familiar, and that's all for today. Thank you so much.